before we get in this episode, can you do us a favor? Will you go ahead and subscribe to the channel?
Will you ring that notification bell?
And if you would, give this video a like. Well, enough of that mumbo jumbo. Let's get to the episode.
Let's talk developmentally speaking, glow up, and connecting through wrestling.
Hey everybody, I'm Morty.
And I'm Brian.
And on today's episode of Connecting Through Wrestling, we have the Berzerker himself. How's it going?
Good, you guys. Hi, Brian. Hi, Mortimer. Like I was saying, you guys stopped by my table at what's the name of that town in Ohio?
Chillicothe, Ohio.
Chillicothe. Yeah. Yeah. So, heck yeah, man. It's good to be on here with you dudes. I heard a lot of good things about you guys, and I'm not just saying that. That's why I'm on here, because I heard good things, and you guys were real nice dudes when I met you. So
well, thank you.
We appreciate
you
that.
bet.
Thank you for taking time to come and be on.
Yeah,
the show.
you bet, man. This is great.
So, I will ask you the first question I ask everybody. It's probably been a question you've been asked a million times.
Yeah.
What made you want to get into professional wrestling?
Well, I wanted to be a pro football player, and I got in a cup of coffee. That's another story. For a year or two, and then I grew up in a town of Robbinsdale, Minnesota, where Vern Gagne was from, and the list goes on and on. And guys, I grew up with Kurt Hennig. I grew up with Mike Hagstrand Hawk. I grew up with Rick Rude, Ravishing Rick Rude. I grew up with Scott Simpson, Nikita Koloff. He don't like me to tell his real name. Wow. He's still touchy about that shit. I'm going, Scott, really? You're still worried about that shit, huh? Okay. And then there's, guys, Tom Zink, a guy named Brady Boone, Barry Darsow.
Wow.
These guys were literally all in my wedding. So, it sounds like how is that even possible? And we all graduated together, except for two of us was like a year older. And Mike Hagstrand was from across. He was from about a mile away at a high school, but we still count him as Robbinsdale. But yeah, that's why you made me get in. And Kurt Hennig went through Brad Rangan's camp or Vern Gagne's school, but it's actually Brad Rangan's school. And then Kurt would be coming back to me while I was in football. I was in college football, and like I said, I got in a cup of coffee of pro football. I just knew I was going to be. I knew one damn thing. I was not going to work for a living. I was not going to go do a job, and we wanted to keep the party going, which we did, and it was just definitely wanted to do it because I knew I wasn't going to be a pro football player I knew I was borderline on that. So
absolutely. So you started. So you went to school with all these guys. Did you? Yeah. So you started training at AWA?
Yeah, no. I started training in the first camp Brad Rankin's ever had, which was Worldwide Wrestling School, or whatever the name was. But Kurt went through it by a couple years earlier than us guys, and then a guy named Eddie Sharkey trained guys too, but I actually had a connection to my wife's, who I was married to for 25 years. Her father-in-law was Vern Gagne's best friend growing up.
Wow.
So I kind of had an in. I had so many different ends where I always knew that a lot of guys didn't have no ends, and some guys had one name they could drop, say, hey, help this guy, get this guy in. But I never used I never used it. I didn't even tell Verengania that his best friend was my father-in-law till after I had actually been in camp. And then he's like, "What?" And yeah, so it was. My brain just didn't think that way. I was
Mm-hmm.
always just working out, and I wanted to be everybody, no matter if they say different, they wanted to see themselves on frickin' TV.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If they say any different, they're lying. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you don't do it for the money to start with. You just do it because it's intriguing. And plus, with all these guys doing it at the same time, we were actually drawing some lines in the sand like, sorry, you're my buddy, but I'm going to have to punch you out because I don't want you going as far as I do. I got to get in before I can get you in, man.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a lot of testosterone flying, man, especially at camp. You would, like by then, Mike Hagstrand and Joe Laurinaitis, another guy we grew up with, but he was from another high school.
Mhm.
The Road Warriors, uh, and it was always interesting to me to see who would drop by camp
Mm-hmm.
and still go in there and uh, hit it and wrestle hard and
Mhm.
wrestle amateur and train and you know sometimes it gets into damn near you almost ready to punch each other out in them camps.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I always loved the guys who would stop. And the guy that always stopped was Kurt Hennig. And a lot of people don't know that, but that's why I respected and loved Kurt so much because, like, he knew he might be getting his ass kicked at camp, but he still came.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Absolutely. So, AWA. How was the AWA when you joined them?
How was it?
Yeah.
It
How
was
was your
kind of
memories there?
well. They were good. They were in transition from the old school
Mm-hmm.
guys to the new school, right in that 1984, 85 range, because you had these iconic guys, but geez, they're 5'6",
Mm-hmm.
and you're gonna, and the road wars are gonna bump for you. I don't think so.
Right.
Mike and Joe weren't gonna bump around for that stuff, and that's where the old timers started having serious issues in the AWA.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of watching this, going, man, I want to get along with everybody. I'm thinking, and I
Right.
and I did, but you had that old timers versus the young musclehead deals, and it was clashing. And you
Mm-hmm.
had, uh, you know, uh, Greg Gagne, who was Burns. He was running things, and uh, Greg was a pretty. He could have a kind of a condescending tone to him, but he owned he owned the AWA, and
Mm-hmm.
so you had to play ball, no matter what anybody says. No
Mm-hmm.
matter how macho you think how quick you are a self-made man, like in a year or two or something, you're not. You got to remember those first year, you're kissing ass like
Mm-hmm.
everybody else.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. For sure. So, see, there was a lot of headbutting when it came to the younger, bigger guys coming in and seeing these
yeah.
older guys. Even though, so the younger guys weren't willing to work. Basically, they weren't willing to do the
The
job that they had to.
Well, if I can paint the picture right, this picture, like you got the Crusher, you got the Baron, you got Sergeant Slaughter. Sarge was always a big guy. Sarge
Mm-hmm.
was 6'5", 300. But but a lot of the Mad Dog Bashan was these were not big guys when you got up to
Mm-hmm.
them close. But when you're watching them as you're a kid growing up in Minnesota, in Robbinsdale, um, occasionally they bring in guys like Billy Superstar Graham, and we'd go to school in seventh, eighth grade to our lockers, me, Kurt, and Rude, and Barry Darso and a few others. It would all be, Kurt said, because Kurt's dad was Larry the Axe Henning, so Kurt's
Mhm.
dad, and he says, guess what I did? I said, what? And we're in like in eighth grade at our lockers. And he says, I went to Duluth with Billy Superstar Graham. And he says, and I remember Kurt telling me, going, I said, what did he say? He said he kept telling me, he kept pulling into gas stations and getting treats and like rolls and stuff. And he kept saying to me, Curtis, remember one thing: a man needs his pastries, baby. You need your pastries. And so right away we started imitating Billy Graham at our lockers in eighth grade. You need your pastries, Curtis Michael Hennig. And next thing you know, here are we, this big crew of guys that all got big, and we grew up on that stuff. So
That's awesome.
all the old time, and you wanted to treat them with respect,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
and we
absolutely.
did, but it's almost like they got the attitude first, thinking these big muscleheads don't want to sell for us.
Mhm.
Bullshit. We did. We were just trying to make it look believable,
Right.
Mhm.
and then of course the thing about pro wrestling is, you know, uh, although although everybody knows it's a lot of it's entertainment. Listen, you still don't know what's going to happen when you go in
Mhm.
there. You
Correct.
still don't know what you're going to feel like when you get back from the ring in 20 minutes from now. You might have a black eye, you might have a chipped tooth, you might have a broke leg, all that, or you might have the whole damn locker room pissed at
Mhm.
you because of what you did out there. And I don't know where I was going with that, but again, it was just about the old timers, with that transition, and they were frustrated anyways because pro wrestling was starting to go down,
Mhm.
and their paydays,
Mhm.
a lot of guys didn't save their money. But a guy like Ray Stevens,
Mhm.
he wasn't like that at all. He wasn't worried at all. He just wanted to keep it believable.
Right.
And Ray was such a great guy to drink with, and we always felt like we could talk to Ray,
Mhm.
about being the new breed type guy, and that's, I guess you would classify it from about '84 on to 89. The guys that broke in them years,
Mhm.
and then of course uh, Barry Darso and Scott Simpson, Nikita Koloff and Barry Darso, they broke in Charlotte, so that was a little different deal.
Mhm.
Guys
Mhm.
like me and Henny, we broke in our own hometown,
Right.
so it was a little touchier deal. And uh, the main thing is, yeah, the memories we had, we were, it was 24/7 we were clowning around.
Mhm.
We'd go and run McDonald's, and Henny would go, oh, hey, he would ask the McDonald's guy, hey, does a Ray or kayfabe work here? They'd be going, no. How do I spell it? I mean, it was Henning. It was on all day long, and
You
then
always hear
once,
the stories.
huh?
You hear the stories that Henny
Ah,
was a jokester for the
I
hood.
can tell you that they were incredibly fun, and we get in that, you get in the behind the car as soon as,
Mhm.
I mean, behind the wheel, as soon as we were way more interested in getting in the car after the matches than we were about the matches. At least I was, and about learning
Mhm.
wrestling and all that. I
Right.
My brain didn't go there right away, so I
Mhm.
didn't learn as quick as some guys because my mind was on after the matches. Man,
Mhm.
the matches will take care of itself.
Yeah.
I want to go party, and it's actually the opposite. You should be thinking, I'm going to learn, and the parties will take care of itself, not
Yeah.
fucking me. Fuck.
Well, hindsight being 2020, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, but I wouldn't have did it any different because that's
Right.
how you are. You're that way or you're not, you know.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
And it was a pretty good feeling though, having the sense that you all these guys you grew up with
Hmm.
that they're around in case I need them.
Hmm.
I don't feel so alone.
Yeah.
And I think I took that for granted a lot, you know, because you would get reminded when you have to go do 30 days in Japan
Hmm.
and none of your buddies are there. You're
Well, yeah.
all alone.
The
And
security blanket's gone basically in that
yeah,
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I remember Japan, the first night I went there, this is when I met Frank Bruiser Brody
Hmm.
in Japan in 1985. And I'll never forget the first night I wrestled, I jammed both my thumbs. So now both my thumbs are swollen up. I can't
Oh,
even lock up. And I got 30 days in Japan ahead of me, which is not fun. It's hard. And
Hmm.
they're trying to buzz saw you at your legs and you know, but I remember going to Back to the Future at a Tokyo theater with Brody and Dick Murdoch, and seeing Michael J. Fox and uh, in that Back to the Future movie. And I remember that, and then of course I met Brody then, and he became a real good friend. And
Hmm.
uh, but they carried me. They seen me, man. I had two sprained thumbs, and I'm like, fuck, I ain't gonna
Hmm.
make this. And guys, especially if you're green, they're ready to buzzsaw you and
Hmm.
try to hurt you and shit sometimes back then.
man.
But yeah, uh,
What? I'm just still shocked. Like going to see Back to the Future with those. That's an amazing
that
story in
ain't that
itself.
quite a crew there. Well, you
Yeah.
didn't know what the movie was about. It sounds pretty hoity-toity, but you
Yeah.
didn't know what the movie was about back then.
Oh yeah. So the going overseas and working different territory, did it make it easier once you left the AWA? Like once your career progressed?
Yeah, you know what? I always had the car business. I grew up in a
Hmm.
car family, and we had car lot, and I always had the car business to fall back on too. But um, I loved it. It was so
Hmm.
damn much fun. It was absolutely incredible. Guys, I still run in or talk to the guys and go, "We had no right to have that much fun. We really did." And it was off the pale fun. Um, it's just like running into your buddies, and of course we weren't shy about it. We were just like, "Hey, fuckers, we're here!" And all the other wrestlers, I remember Rick Martel coming up to me going, "God, I've been watching you for months, John." He goes, "I envy you guys, man." Most guys were a little jealous,
Hmm.
And Martel was saying, "Oh, I'm not jealous, but I do, man. I read books on the plane and that. You guys are slamming beers, biting each other in the shoulders, and just just it's non-stop. You guys go, and we
Hmm.
did, we did go non-stop, and it was really cool.
Rick Martel reading a book, just looking up like,
Yeah,
I wish I had that. Then he gets back to his
yeah,
book.
yeah, we pissed off a lot of people, I think, but they would always be doing the same thing, kind of like, okay, okay, you guys, good. Yeah, I'm glad you guys are having fun. Okay, maybe I just don't want to hear you guys having that much fun. Do you mind? But yeah, it was. And then when we were in the WWF uh, in '91, uh, Kurt was in there, Hennig, and Barry Darso, uh, the Road Warriors were
Mhm.
there, and then I had to get a couple other buddies in. So me and Hawk went to work on that, and we got Nails in, Kevin Kelly, Kevin Wachholtz. Kevin's a friend from growing up, another friend. The names are incredible.
Oh yeah.
And then we got who was the other guy? I just Wayne Bloom and
Hmm.
Mike Enos, the Beverly Brothers
Yeah.
from
Good.
Shaker Heights, Ohio, and Wayne uh, is a great friend and a great guy, and
Awesome.
so all of us were there, and we just had to be careful we didn't go too nuts. We were always on the brink of just, I mean, we'd get just hammered, and back then we actually had Vince McMahon's home phone number. I remember one night me and Wayne were sitting there going, let's, and the doctor, Dr. Unger was our team, or was our, the guy's doctor that,
Hmm.
and Mike and Joe were giving him Zubas, and he'd be writing us prescriptions for Percocets and Vicodin. More Zubas, more Vicodin, more Percocet, you know, and that's about what it was. That's what it was about. And I remember one night Wayne dialed Vince's number, and I go, who'd you just dial? That ain't Vince's number. And Wayne goes, hell, it ain't here. Hands me the phone, and Vince said, "Ho," and I go, Vince, Doctor Unger here, and Vince got all excited. It was like midnight or 1 in the morning, and he goes, "Hi, Doc, how you doing?" You know, right away he's kissing the doctor's ass, right? "Hi, Doc, how you doing?" And I said, "Hey, Vince," I said, how about a prescription for some Percocet, huh?" And he goes, "Gotta go, Doc." Click. Yeah. I'm sure his wife was sitting there, you
Hmm.
know. So I mean, that's the kind of shit that you just don't even realize. Like, God, that's the shit we were doing,
That's crazy.
you know.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, the stories are freaking endless. You don't even know where to start and where to begin on them. Uh, so if you got anything on you guys' mind, fire away.
Oh yeah. So how did the WWE come about? How did you get there? What made them want to bring
Well, it
you
was
in?
December 1990, and they called me out of nowhere. I knew Henning,
Hmm.
Kurt, and Darso, and had put in a word for me.
Wow.
But I was happy where I was at. I was selling cars, making good money.
Hmm.
But I was envious of them guys having fun, and I'm not there.
Yeah.
That's what I was envious of. I was not envious about not being a pro wrestler.
Hmm.
But you know, naturally, I wanted to. I wanted to be on TV. You know, any guy
Hmm.
tell you you don't, he's lying again.
Yep.
But uh, they called me for Hogan's like first movie to be a heel in Suburban Commando.
Suburban Commando. I love that movie. God.
Yeah. So I go there, and of course, this is 1990, and Mark, the Undertaker, I fly in thinking, okay, I don't know, and they want me to try out for the part. And the director was a guy named Burt Kennedy, who was actually a huge movie director, like
Hmm.
John Wayne stuff. If you look at his name, he was
Hmm.
a big name. And to go out there, but I didn't read my lines. I didn't do nothing. But anyway, so I go to the hotel lobby, and there's the Undertaker at a table. I says, and I knew him from Dallas
Hmm.
and Japan, and we had been already down the road together. I says, "What the hell?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm here for that movie deal part two to try out." I said, "Really?" I said, "Oh shit, they want to heal." I said, I ain't gonna beat. You're gonna beat a 6'8", 6'8" redhead that looks sick. No, I'm not gonna get this part, and I didn't. So he got it, and he was one of the heels in the movie,
Hmm.
Hmm.
as I remember it, right?
Yep.
Hmm.
Um,
It's been so long
Yeah,
since I've seen
and
him, and I love it.
but I tried my lines, and had never rehearsed my lines. I came so unprepared. But the point is they were already considered me hired, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So I didn't even put that together, like, oh, I am I working for these guys? Is this why
Yeah.
I'm here? Nobody even called you. So back to that, yeah, then they flew me in, and I met with Pat and Vince, and I'll never forget. I'm sitting there down in a chair, like this, and I said, Pat goes, John, you guy, he's got that Montreal accent. He goes, they tell me something about you though. We have me and Vince are wondering. He's laughing at Vince. Well, sometimes they say that we tell you to take a left and you take a right, huh? What's that? I says, yeah, and that was the truth. I had already missed shots for Vern, and
Mm-hmm.
just fucking partying and saying, fucking, I ain't gonna make nothing. Because the AWA was going down, so I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't overly concerned about it. But it was still, it had a strong TV, it had ESPN, and I
Mm-hmm.
should have been a little more concerned. But they didn't care. They were okay with it. I told them, yeah, that's when I was younger, and I guess I grew up, you guys. And of course I
Mm-hmm.
did. I'm frothing at the mouth to get hired and get with my buddies and get the show on the road and get on payroll and everything
Mm-hmm.
else. And they hired me, but they had me go in the back room and said, "What do you feel like?" I said, "I don't know. Maybe Nord Viking. I don't know. I feel like a barbarian.
Mm-hmm.
And
Hmm.
I was, but they wouldn't use Nord the Barbarian because it wasn't Vince's idea, you
Mm-hmm.
Right.
know, and it had to be his idea. That's the one thing you learn about Vince. And
Mm-hmm.
so they send you over this costume room that's a big warehouse deal
Hmm.
back then, anyways, and pick out horns and a shield and pick out all this stuff they wanted me to have. So I did my best with it, and that's how that started.
Wow.
And that's one of the most memorable, gimmicks of all time.
Oh,
Well, I don't know. Thanks for saying that. I don't know. It was a commodity. I was kind of a commodity for a couple years. I mean, I wrestled every week, and
Mm-hmm.
and Vince would also he was also signed up with Japan
Mm-hmm.
and a guy named Tenru, and Tenru was like the Hulk Hogan in
Mm-hmm.
Japan.
okay.
And I did good with Tenru, and to do good is to do good for the WWF. So
Mm-hmm.
I was still working for them, but I was like the Japan guy,
Yeah.
for Vince. All of a sudden, it made me feel good
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
I knew if I wasn't going to get a top push with Hogan, that
Mm-hmm.
at least I was their guy to go to Japan. And the other guys kind of followed me, and they kind of had me, I don't know, like literally collect the money and stuff. So that ended up being a good gig for me. I made good money, and the Undertaker was over there with me. I remember one tour he was scheduled to be over there, and he came, him and Percy,
Hmm.
Paul Better, and uh, Japanese did not like it. Nobody clapped. They're just going, "What? What is this? This is really stupid." I mean, that just goes to show you, Japan, for some guys, savage. Another
Mm-hmm.
guy, not Japan.
Wow.
Uh, they didn't want nothing to do with them. Uh, Undertaker, same thing. And I can say that in all honesty because Mark he wouldn't care if I'm saying that about him
Mm-hmm.
because it was just the truth. They have a whole different outlook on pro wrestling.
Mm-hmm. But
That's
you were,
crazy to think. That's to think that the Undertaker didn't get over at all. It just
You got to
it's hard.
remember how foreign that was,
yeah.
though. To have
Yeah,
this
Mm-hmm.
guy
absolutely.
boom walking out that slow to the ring,
Mm-hmm.
like some people don't got no patience for that. It takes too long, you know. But yeah, it's hard to believe. But uh, it just goes to show you the power of TV.
Hmm.
And Mark, the Taker is such a he's athletic,
Hmm.
he's smart, you know. So he was a guy that was born for that gimmick, and uh, it was, you know. And then if you're not obviously if you're on TV for 15 years, I mean,
Hmm.
things take care of itself, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Was there ever any plans for you in the WWF?
you know
What?
what? I had plans in 1986, five
Hmm.
years earlier. Hogan had called Brad Rheingans, and this is a true story too, and had requested me. And I was with the AWA then. My dad's car lot was off the map, going good. So
Hmm.
I had double income, and I'm like going, I mean, I know it sounds really almost like bullshit, but I said, nah, I just don't want to go yet.
Hmm.
And they tried, they tried, I think they called Brad twice, but they tried, and Brad's going, I think you want to take this, Johnny. I said, man, I got a little wife at home. I got
Hmm.
one baby, one on the way, you know, and I'm making good money. I don't need money, you know,
Hmm.
Right.
and so I didn't take it. Well, looking back, I probably should have took the run with Hogan because it's still when my body was still together too. You know,
Hmm.
I wasn't hurt and I wasn't,
Hmm.
you know, I had nerve damage and a knee. My body was still hitting on all cylinders, and that would have been believable, me against Hogan, you know, back then.
Hmm.
So
Right. Wow.
yeah, so
But I could almost see the you were making double income. You had a family starting up. You were. Yeah, I honestly, in
What's the
my
point of
mind,
going on the road?
in my mind, I probably would have made that same decision. That just because I
yeah,
think me and Brian are two very different people. I think Brian would have been like, "Well, I'm gonna go wrestle Hogan."
yeah,
Me, I would have made the same decision as you. Because
yeah.
yeah,
That's how
Hmm.
we are. We're all like that. Some
Hmm.
would, some wouldn't have, you know, right?
yeah,
Hmm.
Because uh, you know, just because Vince McMahon says come, don't mean you stop your fucking life.
Hmm.
And Vince knows that. He don't
right.
expect that.
Hmm.
But the guys kind of scratch their head. I'm like, I don't know. It just wasn't a big deal. I'm like, I can always wrestle, you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah.
Um, but you don't always got that spot. And
Hmm.
I think, I don't know. You know what? Since then, since I not, since I retired years, decades ago, I was in touch with the WWF on like royalty checks and a
Hmm.
couple other little things, and the guy that does payroll would always tell me like they absolutely really think you're the best, John. And I'm like, me? What? So I figured out what he was saying finally, and he kind of confirmed it. He says, no, what he means is you were always there
Hmm.
on time. You never sued him. You never fucking pouted because you weren't getting pushed hard enough.
Hmm.
You never, you know, you just did it and you went
Yeah.
home. No drama, no nothing, no bad talk, no nothing. Although when Nails beat him up, I was kind of in on that with Nails, but I wasn't. I was just watching the door for him. But so I don't got a perfectly clean slate, but well, and it just kind of surprised me because I don't think of myself of like being this good employee
Hmm.
for anybody. You just go, yeah, fuck, whatever. Yeah, no. But that was nice. Anyways,
Yeah, and that when they released your action figure a couple years ago, everyone was talking about it. They wanted it. You know, it was very.
well, that yeah, I don't know. Yeah, well, I like I said, just you guys. One thing. Well, I guess I guess I don't need a plug or anything, but I am going to WrestleCon. Can I tell
Hmm.
you guys that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to WrestleCon with my agent Justin, and that's the 31st and the first and the second, and then we're gonna do. We're also doing the comedy show, me and the
Hmm.
Grappler, at the Ice House Comedy Store in Pasadena,
Wow.
and that's on the 31st too. And I just had to plug them,
Oh.
and if
Yeah.
you guys can plug that for us, I
Oh
would
yeah.
sure love it.
I'll
And
actually be out in California during that.
are you?
I'll swing
Come
by.
by and
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
You make sure you stop by and see me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He'll
Brian,
be there. I won't, unfortunately.
you're not going.
No.
He won't.
Mortimer,
So, what made you want to start doing conventions again? Because the reception's been good with fans being able to interact with you and be able to get their pictures and autographs. From what I've seen, it's all been positive.
yeah, it has been. Oh no, I started out hooking up with a guy named Marty
Hmm.
out east. Marty, uh, and I kind of no showed him a couple times, and I just didn't take none of the. I didn't even know stuff like this existed till a
Hmm.
couple years ago. I'm like, really? Why didn't anybody tell me? Well, it's because I don't do, the phones and the
Yeah.
computer. I don't do none of this stuff. And you get like that, and you start drifting off into,
Hmm.
isolation. You don't even know none of this is going on. But that ended up where man, I could pick up a few bucks. I didn't know that. Well,
Hmm.
really, even was the money originally, I didn't. I don't want to do that. But then I got with my boy Justin on this side of the river, on the west
Hmm.
side of Mississippi, and he's the one who's helped me out a lot in just getting these bookings and making money I would have never made. But the fans and that, I'll tell you something. What's really been cool for me
Hmm.
is the wrestling fans. I
Right.
really like kicking it with them.
Hmm.
I love telling them stories. I love doing this shit right here.
Hmm.
Um, I love, it just to me they feel more like the true red, white, and blue Americans that we
Hmm.
got left. Our wrestling fans. I
Hmm.
swear, it sounds kind of hokey, but it's pretty true.
Yeah.
And yeah, uh, so now I kind of dig it.
Have you had a chance to make it to the Squared Circle Expo in Indianapolis?
No Squared Circle Expo. No, haven't made
It's
that.
we went to the one last year. The second one was last year. We're going
How
to the
was that?
It's
It's
huge.
it's pretty big. Now, I will say WrestleCon, when they first started it, I worked for Evolve and Dragon Gate, and they kind of teamed up with High Spots to do
Okay,
to put all that together. And
sure.
because because WrestleMania is going to be there, it's fans from all around the world. Like when you did Bobby Fulton's show, that was mainly Midwest, but now
Yeah,
where you're going, it's literally people from all over the world are going to be there that weekend. So I feel like it's going to be amazing for you in April.
I can't believe it. I didn't know shit like this existed, man.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe it. They do. Well,
Yeah,
Justin original. Are you talking about WrestleCon or the Squared Circle, or both?
Wrestle WrestleCon is I think the biggest one
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
of everything.
Well, Justin was telling me that Virgo Brothers Promotions. Um, he was telling me that. I'm like, oh yeah, I've never heard of it. And this was
Mm-hmm.
just like a year ago or
Mhm.
6 months, right? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Yeah. And then I realized how freaking big it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and especially LA, and you're right, they come from all over the world, and I'm just learning all this
Right.
stuff. So
And,
this is really freaking cool, you
mhm.
guys.
And I'm happy
And
that this stuff exists.
Yeah. If you get
God,
a
aren't
chance to
you?
do the
Yeah.
if you get a chance to do the Squared Circle Expo in Indianapolis sometime,
Yeah, I just
it,
told him
it's very
Square
it,
Circle and
it,
Expo.
it's it's the biggest one I've been to.
Brian's been to WrestleCon, which is like the biggest, but we'd say
Hmm.
Squared
You
Circle.
guys got a name that
He's
I can anybody to contact?
Yeah, I can. I'll send him. I
Yeah,
can send it
can
to
you?
him after the.
You
Yeah.
mind doing that for
Yeah.
Justin?
yeah,
Absolutely.
For
absolutely.
me?
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be great, you guys.
Absolutely.
Uh, but yeah, I really what I do like this comedy
Hmm.
deal at the Ice House in Pasadena. I'm looking forward to that because I know we're gonna. I know I'll nail it.
Hmm.
It's. I love telling these stories. I love getting borderline kind of crazy, uh, without being dirty or nothing bad, you know. But I just love rocking on the stories, and I
Hmm.
love
Oh yeah.
just lighting it up. It's really fun to me. It's
Oh yeah.
kind of like
Hmm.
I got a lot of people come to me and say, John, that's what you were born to do. And I'm like, well, yeah. I said, maybe I'll do something now. I don't know. But uh, this comedy thing, we're we've got good responses on
Hmm.
Good.
what we've done on that. And that should just go off the map, I hope. Bunch of these guys right now, I don't care about the money. Just stop by the table. We'll light it up on some stories. Maybe get a little crazy. Bring your little son or daughter. And no, well, there's nobody. Me and the Grappler
Hmm.
are buddies since back in Mid South in 1985 when I was Jake Roberts' partner.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, we're buddies, and we got the band back together, you know, and
Hmm.
we really do. And thanks to Justin,
Hmm.
the Virgo man, and but this is something we're both just jacked on,
Awesome.
and we're gonna be giving stuff away, and I got a piece of original Bruiser Brody merchandise. I do, and it's kind of a odd item, but it's real. It was
Hmm.
uh, it was uh, Frank Frank Goodish's shoehorn. He put them rabbit skin boots on, and sometimes he'd have a hard time sinking his heel down. And he loved going to these head shops. Is that what you call them? Like where you buy the pot pipes and
Hmm.
the ash
Yep.
pipes or the skulls. And so I remember taking him to one of them before we wrestled, and he seen the item I got there, and uh, anyways, long story short, buys his shoehorn, uses it one night, stays in the cab of my pickup. That was 35 years ago.
Hmm.
So it hasn't been in the cab, but my ex-wife grabbed it out of a box. I says, I remember a shoehorn. And it was just incredible. Um, so I'll be bringing my shoehorn to show people Bruiser Brody's shoehorn.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's an odd item, but I'm kind of big on it
Oh
because
yeah.
Yeah.
that's how us
People love it.
hardcores are. We
Yeah.
love odd stuff, us
Hmm.
guys, you know. But no, that's you guys. Any plugging you can do for us for
Absolutely.
you guys, and uh, and the comedy club thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
Absolutely. I'll do everything I can.
uh,
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
So what do you guys? Are you guys run this? When do you guys run this? Your show
Um, this episode will drop. Um,
On Friday. Next on Friday.
Friday?
Yep.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I do more shows with you in the future, you guys, just so you know, the best thing I do I like doing is telling my stories,
Oh
man.
yeah, we would love
Like the
to.
Absolutely.
craziest shit,
Yeah.
like real stories. Not no
Absolutely.
bullshit, the yawning stories. Mine are high intensity, real, and funny as hell.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely have to bring you back for a second connecting to wrestling. We'll have a Berserker revisited episode, and we'll have you just tell all the stories you want,
Yeah.
for sure. Um, before we do end this episode, I would like to ask one last question for you, and
Sure.
it is for those who want to get into professional wrestling today, what advice would you give
Uh, make sure physically you are at the peak that you can possibly be in condition and size, uh, even before you get in it, because
Hmm.
they're not going to be interested in you anyways if you're not at the peak.
Hmm.
And that way you don't look back and say, if I would have showed up and I would have been heavier or bigger or in better shape and all that. That's where my mind goes always, is
Hmm.
because then you got nothing to look back on. Then it's no longer about what you can do. You did everything you can do. Just do everything you can do to get ready to be one, and that way, anyways, you're happier. Anyways, you're in shape and you're feeling great. And you're trained up for a couple of years, even before, you know,
me? Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
and get ready
real.
to frickin' party. Yeah.
Well, I want to take this time to say thank you again for coming on and talking to us. I would love to do another episode sometime. I'm sure Brian would. Brian
All
would as
you
well.
guys want. You guys are good dudes. I've heard things. Justin's a
Thank
really
you.
good dude, and
Thank
I
you.
call you guys. Let me see. I gotta dub you guys something. Let me see. Brian, you're the semi-controversial, always well-dressed Brian.
Thank you.
Let me see. Mortimer. Fucking Mortimer. I watched this old movie, and it's funny as hell, and that's where I remember Mortimer. But yeah, you guys are good dudes.
Thank
Um,
you.
I'm gonna wake both your asses up next time, next show I do, because
Absolutely.
I think you guys need a little wake up fucking call, maybe.
Okay.
Let's do it. Thank you
No,
again.
thanks. I appreciate you guys having me, and please plug the Ice House for me.
Um,
Oh, absolutely.
Would you?
Absolutely.
Can I count
Yes.
on that?
Yes, sir.
And WrestleCon? Would you?
Yes, sir.
Thanks a
Yes,
lot, you
sir.
guys.
No problem.
Brian
Thank you.
Mortimer, I love you fuckers. Let's keep going, okay?
Thanks. Have a
Absolutely.
good one. Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Hey, everybody, it's Morty.
It's Brian.
And thank you for watching today's episode of Developmentally Speaking.
If you could, please click that subscribe button.
And don't forget to punch that bell icon so you can get notified whenever we go live or drop a new video every Monday. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next
Developmentally speaking.